We're out here in Sedona, Arizona today. Going to take the motorcycle to hike Devil's Bridge Trail. We'll be utilizing the 1.3 mile or about 2 kilometer Dry Creek Road 4-wheel drive route to get there. After we finish the Devil's Bridge hike, we will continue on about an additional mile up Dry Creek Road to see the historic Van Deren cabin. There are a couple different ways to get to Devil's Bridge. One of the ways, of course, is to drive to the trailhead today like I'll be doing. One of the more popular ways is to park down at Dry Creek Trailhead and hike up Dry Creek Road. Alternatively, you can park at Dry Creek Trailhead and hike Chuckwagon Trail. My preferred option if I was hiking it from pavement would be to continue on over to Long Canyon Road, use the Mescal Trailhead parking, and get on Chuckwagon and hike from there. Once you make a right on Dry Creek Road there, the pavement continues a short bit where there's a parking area for regular vehicles on the left. Beyond that, it requires 4-wheel drive high clearance vehicles. Once you hit the gravel, it's going to be about 1.3 miles or about 2 kilometers on up to the trailhead. The route is popular for Jeep tours, side-by-sides, and ATVs, as well as a lot of pedestrians, so you'll have to keep an eye out for those. The length of the hike will of course vary depending on which route you take. I'm taking the shortest route possible today, driving to the Devil's Bridge Trailhead. It'll be 1.4 miles or 2.25 kilometers round trip from there for me. If you hike it from the lower parking area, Dry Creek Trailhead parking, that's going to be 4.2 miles or 6.75 kilometers round trip with 560 feet of elevation gain or 173 meters. If you hike from Dry Creek Trailhead parking and use Chuckwagon instead of walking up the road, it'll be 5.7 miles or 9 kilometers round trip. If you continue over to Long Canyon Road and use the Mescal Trailhead parking to access Chuckwagon, you'll be 4 miles or 6.5 kilometers round trip. Overall, I found the road not to be too bad on a dual sport bike. I do have a Jeep as well, but I've opted not to bring it for this because it rides so terrible, and the nice thing about the bike is you can pick your line and avoid a lot of these rocks. Well, we've made it here to the parking area for Devil's Bridge. Gonna head off on the rest of the hike. It's 1.4 miles round trip from here. The hiking trail starts out pretty easy, gradually starts working uphill, and then eventually gets a little tougher. You'll climb that first set of rock stairs there and reach this landing area. Good spot to stop and enjoy the view before you continue on up. I didn't expect to see this kind of line at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. It is getting to be the end of February here. I guess it's getting closer towards peak season, but surprised to see quite so many people here. I know better than to come here middle of the day, but I really figured I got started early enough to avoid all this, but I guess not. It is probably the most popular trail in Sedona, I suppose. If you really want to avoid the crowds, I guess you've got to start right at sunup or before sunup maybe. I'm not sure. I didn't get started too early because it was chilly and I didn't want to ride in the cold. So here I am. I'm not standing in line to get a picture anyway. I just want to take some pictures of the arch itself and head on out. Once you finish the hike to Devil's Bridge, if you would like to continue on to the historic 1890s Van Deren cabin, take a right on Dry Creek Road and continue north for about 1.1 miles or 1 3/4 kilometers. If you don't want to drive up here, or if you've walked up to Devil's Bridge, of course you can continue walking up the road to reach Van Deren cabin. It is also possible to reach Van Deren cabin from Long Canyon Trailhead using Chuckwagon Trail, eventually connecting over to a short section of Burns Mesa where you'll intersect Dry Creek Road. If you want to take the easy route, you can take one of the Jeep tours. It is a popular stopping spot for those as well. You will see several Jeep tours continuing on up Dry Creek Road past Devil's Bridge, but you do not see many walkers. Just before you reach the cabin, you'll get to a fork in the road. You're going to bear left on Road 9917. Dry Creek Road, also known as Forest Service 152, continues on north off to the right. Once you reach the creek, if you don't want to continue driving, it's just a short walk on up and around to the cabin. Alternatively, you can continue driving on. I continued on a little bit further, but did stop before I got there. Up ahead, just a little ways here, I went ahead and stopped. There was a rock formation ahead of me initially I was unsure about, but in retrospect I feel like I could have made it over. There's a couple more tricky spots on over the hill there you can't see as well, but from that point it was just a short walk on to the cabin. Well, we've made it to the Van Deren cabin. Almost was able to drive here, not quite. I will just read you verbatim what the historical plaque said there. This 43-acre parcel was originally homesteaded by Bill Fredericks, a local known for his good whiskey. In 1924, he sold the land to Earl Van Deren. Earl moved the north cabin from Sterling Canyon sometime between 1924 and 1929. Then in 1930, Van Deren decided to get married and constructed the south cabin and connected them with a common roof creating a breezeway. The north cabin served as a kitchen and the south cabin became known as the honeymoon cabin. Both are constructed out of Arizona cypress and were originally roofed with ponderosa pine shake shingles. During the 1940s, the cabins were used for at least 2 movies, Riders of the Purple Sage and Blood on the Moon. I didn't think the road between Devil's Bridge and Van Deren cabin was too bad. Wasn't much different than the first part of the road, really. There was a couple sandier sections up there, but nothing that caused me any issues. The final side road over to Van Deren cabin was a little trickier, especially once you got down to the creek. Up past that, it got kind of rough. Actually, it was probably, I would say, worse than my video made it look when I went in, but overall, I didn't have any problems. I just decided to stop at that one point before I did have a problem, although in retrospect, I think I could have made it, but I had already stopped, so I just went with it. Once I got back to the pavement, I decided to take the long way home, the scenic route up Boynton Pass Road, also known as Forest Service 152C. It is paved, but eventually turns into gravel at the Trailhead parking for Bear Mountain and Doe Mountain, and connects over to Forest Service 525, which is where I'm camping. If you're not familiar with that, there's a bunch of dispersed camping out there on Forest Service 525. It is free. There is no services, of course. I do know that the Forest Service is starting to reduce the number of camping areas available over there. They're having issues with overuse and people overstaying the 14-day limit, so I'm not sure what the future of that is going to hold, unfortunately. Thank you for joining me today for this beautiful ride around Sedona, Arizona, and the wonderful hike up to Devil's Bridge. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button to let me know. Be sure to subscribe so you can get notified about future adventure videos. If you have any comments, leave those in the comments section below.